I never thought my life would take such a strange turn. When I met Tom, I was 32 and proud of the life I had built. I owned a beautiful luxury house, one that took years of hard work to afford. The house was my safe space, filled with memories and dreams. Little did I know, it was also what attracted Tom to me. Tom was charming, handsome, and knew just what to say to make me feel special. It was easy to fall for his sweet words and caring gestures. Soon, he convinced me that he was the one I'd been waiting for. He'd often say things like, "A house like yours deserves a family," or "We could fill this place with love." I believed him, and after a year of dating, we got married. At first, things seemed perfect. We shared laughter, meals, and plans for the future. But slowly, I noticed small changes. Tom would bring up money more often, asking questions about the cost of the house, the bills, and how I'd managed everything alone before him. His curiosity felt odd, but I brushed it off as a sign of his interest in our life together. One day, though, he suggested something that took me by surprise. Tom suggested, with a casual tone, that I should put his name on the deed to the house. He reasoned that it would make things easier since we were married now. He said, "It's just paperwork, honey. We're a team, right?" Something inside me felt uneasy. I loved Tom, but the house had always been mine. My parents had helped me with the down payment, and every corner of that place had a piece of my heart. I told him I'd think about it, hoping he'd understand my hesitation. But Tom wasn't one to let things go. Over the next few weeks, he kept bringing it up, trying different angles. Some days, he'd act hurt, saying he felt I didn't trust him. Other days, he'd be sweet, making promises about our future together and how we'd always be a team. It started to feel like he was more interested in the house than in me. Then one day, I overheard a conversation he had with a friend on the phone. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but he was speaking loudly in the next room, and the words hit me like a punch to the gut. "Once I'm on the deed, she won't have a choice. It'll be as much mine as it is hers." My heart sank. I realized that maybe Tom hadn't married me for love, but for what I had. After that, I couldn't shake the feeling that Tom was up to something. I decided to test him. Over the next few days, I made it clear that I wasn't planning on adding his name to the deed anytime soon. I didn't want to cause a fight, but I was firm about keeping the house in my name. I waited to see how he'd react. Sure enough, Tom's true colors began to show. He became cold and distant, barely talking to me except to ask about the house. Gone were the sweet gestures and loving words. Instead, he would give me long looks, sometimes with a hint of frustration in his eyes. Then one night, he tried a different tactic. Sitting across from me at the dinner table, he said, "If you loved me, you'd want to share everything with me. Isn't that what marriage is about?" His words were carefully chosen, trying to make me feel guilty. But I could see through it now. I didn't respond the way he expected, and I think he knew his plan was falling apart. Realizing he couldn't sweet-talk me into giving him what he wanted, he turned to threats. "If you don't put my name on the deed," he said one evening, his voice low and angry, "I'll make things very difficult for you." That was the last straw for me. I knew then that I had to protect myself, but I didn't want to make a scene. I had a plan in mind, something he wouldn't see coming. The very next day, I contacted a real estate agent. I explained my situation without going into too many details, and we arranged for the house to be quietly listed for sale. I didn't want Tom to know until everything was in place. I also made sure to look for a small, cozy apartment across town. Somewhere I could start fresh, away from Tom and his schemes. Over the following weeks, I kept everything under wraps. Tom continued his attempts to manipulate me, switching between guilt trips and intimidation, but I stayed calm. In my mind, I knew this would all be over soon. Then one evening, my agent called me with an offer. It was a good one, more than I had hoped for. I didn't waste a moment and accepted it. We agreed on a quick closing, and just like that, the house was sold. I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. That house had been my pride and joy, but I was ready to let go, knowing it would free me from Tom's grasp. A few days before the closing, I decided it was time to tell Tom. He was shocked when I sat him down and calmly explained that I had sold the house. I'll never forget the look on his face, part disbelief, part rage. What do you mean, you sold the house? He practically shouted. It was mine to sell, I replied, keeping my tone even. And I think it's best if we go our separate ways. Tom's face twisted with anger. You can't just sell it without telling me, he shouted, slamming his fist on the table. I could see the desperation in his eyes, realizing that his plan to take the house was slipping through his fingers. I stood firm, meeting his gaze. Actually, I can. The house was always mine, and I had every right to do with it as I pleased. You didn't marry me to build a life together, Tom. You married me because you wanted the house? He tried to regain his composure, putting on that fake charm that once fooled me. Come on, we can work this out, he said, trying to sound reasonable. Maybe we could just buy another place together. But I shook my head. I'm done, Tom. You showed me who you really are, and I don't want any part of it. I'm moving into a new place, and I suggest you start packing your things. Seeing that he couldn't manipulate me anymore, Tom finally dropped the act. Fine, he spat, but you'll regret this. No one will want you after this. You'll be alone. I just smiled. I'd rather be alone than with someone who only cares about what I have, not who I am. A few days later, I signed the final papers, handed over the keys, and walked out of that house, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. I moved into my new apartment, and for the first time in months, I felt free. Free from Tom's schemes and his manipulations. I may have sold my dream house, but I gained something even more precious. My peace.